With every job comes a challenge, every assignment, a flaw. The shooter believed that this was one of those cases. The time of day was wrong. It was never good to scope into the sun. The target was too far away for the conditions. Strong winds. Most important, he didn't have the time to plan as was necessary. It was all wrong. Now, it was too late. He had made shots from this distance. 800 yards, though considered extreme for everyone but the most skilled shooters, wasn't even half the distance he had used for his longest successful target. Kill. But this job was different. This time, he would only have a few seconds to make 2 kill shots. At such a distance, the odds of success were damn near impossible. The afternoon sun layered shadows across the steps of the courthouse. The autumn sun hung low in the sky, which offered no help in the form of clouds. The front of the building faced east, as if giving homage to the powers in Washington from which the structure emulated. But unlike the grand erection of the Supreme Court, the Montgomery County Probate Courthouse in Dayton, Ohio, was both smaller in size and, under most circumstance, held cases reflecting little of national import. Dayton Salazar, attorney at law, so named by grateful immigrant parents, was conducting a trial that would be the exception to the rule. As lead counsel for the prosecution, he was smiling as he and his co-counsel exited the building. In very short order, he was confident that Boyd Weapons Manufacturers, LLC, would not only be shut down once and for all for the crimes from which they had profited, but the president of the company, Jason Boyd, would also be convicted of murder and conspiracy to commit murder. It was a banner day because Salazar had just laid out the facts, and the facts unequivocally said, guilty. Seldom had weapons companies ever lost in court, but prosecuting attorney Dayton Salazar believed this case would be the one to put him in the record books. When the 180-grain 7.62 millimeter round entered his head, Salazar was still smiling. The expression only changed a little by the time the man hit the ground. The second member of the district attorney's team was Melissa Pound, daughter of retired military police officer and General Robert Pound, and witness to the brutal slaying of her boss and close friend. She was also the beneficiary of having lived in a family that comprised of 3 generations of cops. Had she been looking in the other direction, things would have been different. But she was looking. She was looking directly at Salazar when circumstances changed her life forever. Her eyes saw the immediate appearance of a hole in her boss and mentor's head. She felt the splatter of tiny droplets of blood, more like a red mist, as the bullet exited Salazar's brain and hit her face. And though her mind had a difficult time processing the information it was receiving, it wasn't the first time she had seen it. Had the shooter chosen her as the first target, Melissa would have been just as dead as her friend. Because she had been selected second, maybe because she was younger or for any number of reasons, she was given enough time to realize what was going on and reflexively dropped before she knew why. The second round was on target when the shooter pulled the trigger. What he couldn't do was change the trajectory once the bullet left the barrel. A lot can happen in the half a second it takes a projectile to leave the barrel of a rifle until it finishes its travels to the target. The mark was set. The outcome defined. Fortunately for Melissa Pound, the intended target, her head was no longer where it was supposed to be. The half a second was all the time needed to drop enough for the bullet to miss. It was close enough that the trajectory singed a hole through her closely cropped hair, just above the scalp. 3 steps above her feet, the explosion caused by the impact of copper and lead hitting concrete was followed by a ricochet that sent the projectile back to the defenseless young woman, entering her back and lodging painfully near her heart. From that distance, the shooter once again reviewed his handiwork. 2 rounds, 2 down. No one was moving. Both targets were bleeding. His job was complete. It was time to move on to the next job.